These are 12 players Ohio State needs to get if they want to get the number one class in 2025. Let's get it. Ohio State's program is on fire right now, and things are looking great. We are going to take a look at 12 different players that Ohio State needs in order to get the number one class. Now, things are looking pretty good for the Buckeyes. They are number one and on three, but 24/7 and Rivals both has them second. Of course, ESPN with their kooky numbers has them fifth. Wake Forest is actually ahead of Ohio State. Go check out ESPN's recruiting rankings for 2025 if you want to have a good laugh. But then at the end of the day, Ohio State, they have the highest average rating per recruit. Behind only them is LSU. Oregon is also up there, but Notre Dame is currently ahead of them in both 24/7 and Rivals because of the number of recruits. They have 7 more recruits. That's right. Notre Dame in May, the beginning of May too, has 20 commitments, which is just absolutely spectacular for the Fighting Irish. However, we'll see if they can keep all of those commitments and if they'll be able to keep the number one spot. I'm going to guess they most likely will not, as other teams get commitments, but we'll see where it goes from there. Ohio State and LSU are not only battling for the top spot right now in terms of average, but they're also battling for a number of recruits. Let's go ahead and start looking at some of those recruits. The number one recruit that Ohio State needs to be looking at if they want to have the number one class is David Sanders Jr. Now, Ohio State does lead or is near the lead of this recruitment in my mind. And the reason I say that is because every single recruiting analyst you hear out there talks about Ohio State's even with Georgia, Ohio State's even with Clemson, Ohio State's even with them, this, that, and the other. From analyst to analyst, the person they are tied with changes, but Ohio State seems to be the one that is talked about up at the top with all of these people and who they are listing as the top contender for David Sanders Jr. Excellent work by Justin Frye. Not only that, but he did secure the final visit June 21st for David Sanders Jr. in his official visits that he'll be taking in the summer, which is absolutely huge. This is great news for Ohio State. Justin Frye really needs to get the job done here. We're going to talk about another offensive lineman here in a minute, but at the end of the day, this is a 5-star, the best offensive lineman in the class, one of the best offensive linemen that has been coming out of recruiting classes in the past few years. So at the end of the day, this is a very important recruitment for Ohio State to get. The next one, he's actually an LSU commit, Dakorien Moore. He is currently with LSU, but at the end of the day, we all know Brian Hartline, he can make this happen. Ohio State doesn't flip recruits very often, but if there's anybody that can do it, it is Brian Hartline. Ohio State can do this. They just need to beat out LSU. It really seems like at the end of the day, that's the one they're battling with the most. Texas is up there as well, but I think that after Dakorien Moore's visit to Ohio State, it really seems like it's just between him and just between Ohio State and LSU at this point. Hopefully, Ohio State can get it done. Hopefully, Brian Hartline can make it happen. Brian Hartline, you haven't let us down before. Don't let us down now. The next one is Jonah Williams. Now, we're probably about 5th in his recruitment right now in this situation. So Ohio State, they need to get into this situation and get a visit. Jonah Williams coming out of Texas. The only Texas school that's really in on him right now is Texas A&M. So that's kind of good news there. But at the end of the day, the longer this recruitment goes out, I think the better for Ohio State. Ohio State can make it happen. Even though they're 5th, this is one of those kids that I think is going to take his recruitment a little bit longer. I don't think that he's going to be one that you count him out just because Ohio State didn't get the visit here. I think there's going to be time. Maybe he does a visit in the season, something like that. But this is one that Ohio State needs to get. Don't think it's the most likely one, but we'll see if Ohio State can work their magic. The next one, Jamie French on 3 dropped some juicy information the other day with the top 3. I made a short about Jamie French, but at the end of the day, let's remember that number 1, Brian Hartline is going after Jamie French, but number 2, this recruitment is going to remain until signing day. He was at once an Alabama commitment. At one point in time, almost everybody thought that he was going to Ohio State, and now Ohio State not even in his top 3. Please. I think this is one that Ohio State, we just need to wait on. We just need to see what happens. And I think the more time you give Brian Hartline, the better. So in this situation, that's what you want. Next one, Dorian Brew, cornerback out of Texas. Ohio State has the only June visit as scheduled right now. Obviously, he can schedule more, but at the end of the day, Bill Kurlick has Dorian Brew in. That's all I need to hear. Bill Kurlick seems to believe that Dorian Brew will be a Buckeye, might be a cornerback, might be a safety. We'll see how that goes, but he believes he's going to be a Buckeye. And at the end of the day, if Bill thinks it, that's good enough for me too. So I'm going to go with it. Next one. Zion Grady from Alabama, an edge rusher. Now, I've heard a rumor that he has actually silently committed to Ohio State. Take silent commits for what they're worth. I don't even know if it's really anything to even mention it at this point, but Ohio State is going to get the June 21st visit on this one. So hopefully they're going to be able to make a very good impression. Once again, he was just at Ohio State this first weekend in May. So that's very good news. He was there with David Sanders Jr. Sounds like this is one that's very, very possible. Alabama is a place that Ohio State is really trying to work on right now with the void of Nick Saban being out of there. Kalen DeBoer trying to come in, trying to ingratiate himself in the South. Ohio State's trying to move in and make that happen. We'll see if they can do it. Zion Grady, I think, has a good chance to be in Ohio State Buckeye. Next one is Vernell Brown the third. Vernell Brown the third. Now, things right now are trending with Florida State for him. Things are trending with Florida State. Miami is, of course, involved in this one. This is another Florida wide receiver. So this is another one that's going to take a little while, most likely. Going to have to fight for him till the end. But again, there's a reason why Brian Hartline continues to go back to Florida. He wouldn't keep going back to Florida if he wasn't going to get the guys down there. This isn't like Tony Alford where he keeps going back and losing guys and gets disappointed. He's gaining guys from down there. And at the end of the day, I think if we see JJ, Jeremiah Smith, whatever you want to call him, have a great year this year, that's going to impress some of these Florida recruits down there, those wide receivers. So again, Bill Kurlick has him in. And so if Bill Kurlick has him in, good enough for me. I'm going to say Vernell Brown III will most likely be in. Next one here is Andrew Stargo. Andrew Stargo is an inside offensive lineman. If you see down there, he doesn't have a rating right now. That's because Ohio State is pretty much the only big school that's offered him. I believe Kentucky might have offered him, or Louisville, one of those two, has offered him at this point. So that's another power 5, power 4 school, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, Andrew Stargo, he's not ranked, but he will be. Once Ohio State offers a guy, they're going to get this guy ranked. They're going to go do their homework on him. He'll most likely be a 3-star, maybe a low 4-star, but Andrew Stargo going to be ranked, going to be somebody that Ohio State is going to get. I am very confident. Bill Kurlick says he is going to, that Ohio State has him in at this point, or Bill Kurlick has him in at this point for Ohio State. This was the very first big school that offered Andrew Stargo, and so I think at the end of the day, he's going to be appreciative of that. Next one. Bo Jackson, technically listed as an athlete on 24/7, but he's a running back for Ohio State. They're going after him hard. Carlos Loughlin has got this. I believe this is somebody that Carlos Loughlin is just going to love to coach. You watch his film, you watch his tape. This is the kind of guy that it just sounds like is going to work really well with the Carlos Loughlin type of coach. So we want to trust that Carlos Loughlin can get this. And at the end of the day, Bill Kurlick's got him in. So Bill Kurlick has him in. Good enough for me. Let's make it happen. Jordan Davidson from Santa Ana, California. Right now, it seems like it's kind of between us and Michigan. Oregon still there a little bit as well. But if you ask me, do I feel good about a Loughlin versus Alford commitment? Yeah, I feel pretty good about it. I feel like Loughlin is going to be able to nail these guys down. He's going to be able to bring these guys, especially a guy not from South Florida. This isn't somebody that Tony Alford tried to get and got flipped by Miami or something like that. This is a guy from California. He had a relationship with Carlos Loughlin before he was hired at Ohio State. So I think Jordan Davidson is somebody that we're going to see in this class, and I think it's very likely that he will be the second or third, possibly, running back we get in this one. We'll talk about the third one here in just a second. Justin Hill is an edge rusher from Ohio. Pretty much, I think he's the only Ohio kid. Oh, I apologize. Bo Jackson. He and Bo Jackson are the only Ohio kids I have on this list. So Ohio State really going outside of the state of Ohio. I think if Ohio State really focuses in on getting some of those kids from Ohio as well, that's only going to boost their numbers. Ohio State traditionally doesn't take very many more than 25 at the most in their classes, especially under Ryan Day. So, but Ryan Day is really going to need to figure out how to get some more of these Ohio kids in here. Justin Hill is a great start. He's going to be one of those guys that's a jack position for Ohio State. He is an early visit to Ohio State, so I don't love that. But at the end of the day, I do think that Ohio State can very well land this kid. Oregon does worry me some here. It almost feels like in every recruitment nowadays, I'm looking at Oregon saying, where are they at? Do they have a visit? So unfortunately, they do have a visit here for the Cincinnati kid from Ohio. We will see how this plays out. I'm not super strong on this one, but I do think Ohio State does make it happen and works it out. Final one we're going to look at is Byron Lewis. Now, this might be a little overkill for me to be thinking we're going to get 3 running backs. I think it could very well happen. I think that Byron Lewis is somebody that seems to connect well with Carlos Loughlin. He is in the top 300, but he is outside of the top 200. So maybe he's okay with being the second or third running back in a class. This also is going to be versus Miami and Florida State. He's down in Florida. It always makes me nervous when these guys are down there in Florida because at the end of the day, Miami, Florida State, they are lurking and they are going to try to get these guys. Not sure if we can land 3 backs if only one of them is from the state of Ohio. I think we could get 3 if 2 of them are from the state of Ohio, but at the end of the day, we'll see what happens. Ohio State gets a visit, so you can't count them out. Looks like it's going to be Ohio State, Miami, and Florida State in this one. Another team might pop in at some point, but at the end of the day, those seem to be the 3 that are going to be battling. And Ohio State, while they have got bought out by Miami in the past a couple times, they beat out Florida State on some guys. I think I trust Ohio State to get it done here. We'll see what happens. Those are my 12 players that Ohio State needs to get in order to have the number 1 class. Of course, I do believe there will be some 3 stars maybe in there, maybe some lower 4 stars that Ohio State adds. I hope that Ohio State will add a few of those Ohio kids, maybe some developmental projects or something like that to the fold as well. We'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, Ohio State has a very good chance to sign the number 1 class. This could be looking a lot like the 2021 class. The nice thing is, it's not receiver heavy. It's not one of those ones where you have 6 wide receivers or 4 wide receivers. This is one that's not going to be on the backbone of wide receivers. I don't think this is going to be one that's on the backbone of defense. This is going to be one that is on the backbone of Tim Walton and his recruiting. We'll see if we can get those guys, make it happen. Ryan Day, Tim Walton, all those guys, make it happen. We want the number 1 class. Give us a bang to this season with the national championship, the number 1 class. Let's make it happen. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one.